Hey guys, welcome back for another Eaglemoss product review. I am Captain Foley, and this is something I do every week. So if you haven't checked out the older ones, go check them out. So every Friday at noon on the Trekyards page or channel, I do these Eaglemoss reviews. So I look at an Eaglemoss model and let you know my thoughts on it. Today we are doing the special issue Kelvin Enterprise from the 2009 Star Trek movie, the reimagined Enterprise designed by Ryan Church, affectionately known as the JJPrise by a lot of people. Not my favorite ship, there's no secret there, but we're going to take a look at the model and see how it stacks up against some of the other ones. It is one of the XLs, so it's worth a look. So anyway, let's get into it. So it's the Fantastic magazine. You got a picture of the ship on the front there. Anyway, down here are some specifications, so we're going to take a look at those right now. Constitution class, launch 2258, 2009 movie timeline, Captain James T. Kirk. So there you go. Let's open it up and take a look, and hopefully it gets better. Alright, so over here we've got the how to mount it on this Eaglemoss stand. Pretty typical stuff. Here we got an interesting shot of the ship, I gotta say. Doesn't help its appearance in any way, in my opinion. Not a huge fan of the ship, as I've said. More specifications down here. So they say, class, Constitution, constructed Riverside Shipyards, Iowa, Earth. Launch 2258. Captains Christopher Pike, James T. Kirk. Well, it has crew listed as James T. Kirk. Weaponry, phasers, and photon torpedoes. And down here you got a few shots of the interior of the ship. So we got the bridge dome thing, the transporter room, and one of the corridors. So there's one of the best shots of the ship probably from the movie when it comes out of the rings of Saturn. A really cool visual effect. When Nero altered the course of history, it resulted in the larger, more powerful Starship Enterprise. So there you go. That's the reason. Here we go with designing the Enterprise. This one looks much better. It's got the orange or red Bizarre collectors. It's got the smaller, more refined engines. So that right there, just doing the colors right, is a big improvement in my opinion. When Star Trek returned in 2009, everything was updated, including the famous starship, which was cooler than ever. They actually put that in this magazine. Okay, moving right along. See, there it is again. Engines are spaced correctly. Bizarre collectors look good. They're not too big a nacelle. That's actually fantastic. I would have been so happy with that. But anyway, over here we've got the new Enterprise was designed under the direction of production designer Scott Chambliss, who was responsible for realizing J.J. Abrams' vision of the new movie. There's another design here which is pretty cool, more refit style-esque, and then some scenes of it being constructed and stuff. Here's a few different takes on how the engines could have looked and the nacelles could have been. Actually pretty interesting. The bottom one's not the best. Top one's very similar to what we got. And one thing I got to say about the ship, even though I'm not a huge fan of it, from the side I've always liked it. It looks great from the side. Directly from the side it looks fantastic. The engines don't even seem too big. So once you start to move it, the proportions get all wonky for me. The engines are spaced way too close together and are just too big. It's one of the biggest pet peeves I have with this ship. There are other small things, but that's the biggest issue. So over here we got this one, which is actually kind of cool. I do love the nacelle design on that one. The Bizarre collector design is really neat. Here we see it under construction again, which is cool. Enterprise interiors. That is a cool bridge. That's very reminiscent of the motion picture era bridge from the motion picture. You got the stations at the front there, especially on this side where the weapons is in the motion picture. That's actually a really cool design, and for a refitted JJ Enterprise, that'd be neat. So I like that. Down here is the, looks like it's supposed to be the engine room. They did have an engine room designed, but they couldn't afford to build it because of budget, so they ended up just using the Budweiser brewery, which was not a great decision. A lot of people complained about that and called them out for it. So here's some revisions and ideas and drawings done by Chambliss and Abrams on Ryan Church's design to modify it, change it up a bit. ILM looked at every aspect of the ship, from the size and shape of the different elements to the details that covered the surface. Cool little side and top profile of the ship. As I said, from the side, that looks pretty cool. I wish they would have bulked out the secondary hull a little bit and not had it come out so far forward in front of the neck. But the top is actually pretty great, except for the spacing of those engines, to be fair. But that's that. I'm not just going to complain about this thing. I mean, a lot of people love this ship, and that's perfectly fine. Here is it from the side again. With the red Bizarre collector, I think just looks better than the blue. But JJ at the last minute wanted to do his own thing and have it stand out from other Enterprises, so he went with the blue nacelles. And then we got the saucer edge down here, which I'm not a huge fan of the way it kind of curves, the way it does. I think a more straight approach would have been better, but that's just me. See, this bugs me right here. It's the bottom of the ship. It's got the registry numbers where they're supposed to be on the sides of the saucer there, but the notes are, let's move these away and put one here on the bottom of the secondary hull. I mean, it's cool to have one on the bottom of the secondary hull, but that's the classic. They're taking too many elements away from the classic design. That I think that's why people complained. But this is like almost production done and dusted. Red or orange Bizarre collectors, and then last minute was changed. Down here is a fantastic little piece of concept art with the glowing engines that you can see through. They can see the glow from the inside or the outside. On the next page, designing the back of the engine. There's a lot of information in this book, which is actually very, very enlightening. So it's if you can get this model and the book, you'll learn a lot about the JJPrise. So then designing the interior fan blades. Over here we got some interesting takes on how the engines, the back of the nacelles, move and articulate when it goes to warp, which is kind of a neat idea, actually. It wasn't really brought to life or fleshed out very much in the movie, but it's a great idea, and so yeah, I really have no issues with that as long as it was done correctly. At the back here we've got the shuttle bay and the interior. This kind of wonked up the scale a little bit though. When you see the shuttles in comparison to how big the ship is supposed to be, it just doesn't really make sense, but that's always kind of been a trope in Trek, unfortunately, even with the classic TOS shuttle bay. It's just TARDIS effect. It's not big enough to actually hold what it holds. There's that shot of the ship from the first page. And that is it for this book. So on the back you got a picture of the ship from the top, for better or for worse. There's so many elements about it that just don't hold up, in my opinion. But anyway, so there we go. So that's the magazine for the special edition XL Enterprise from 2009 Star Trek J.J. Abrams movie. Worth a read if you can get your hands on this, and you're interested in the J.J. Enterprise and its evolution. Pick it up. It is worth it. This has got some really cool information in it. I learned quite a bit actually. I have a book called Designing the Kelvin Timeline, and the information in this book isn't in that book, a lot of it. So this is definitely a good supplement to any information you have. If you're a fan of this ship, I suggest picking this up. So now it's time to look at the ship itself. Here is the box. There is the ship on the front of the box, doing its thing. Standard. It's out the side. It's classic Star Trek logo. And then all the other ones, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, TNG, and Enterprise on this side. And then that's basically it. So let's take her out of the box and see what we shall see. I mean, we'll see a ship. Oh, that's a great sign right off the hop. So here's the saucer separated Enterprise. Very cool actually when it's saucer separated. No, it's not supposed to be saucer separated. So you can see here, so out of the box it's already, but you can see it's got a nice slotting peg in there and the matching one on the secondary hull and neck there. So it does slide in. It looks like it's actually designed to separate, but I don't think it is. But it could be. But there it is. I mean, actually, you know what? This is, holding it doesn't seem too. Oh, there we go. Yeah. From the side, like I said, I love it. As soon as you do that, there you go. You can tell the engines are too close together. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this review. People are going to be like, "Wow, all you did was rail on the JJPrise for the whole thing," and it's like, I don't mean to. I did notice that the nacelle closest to you guys is very much down compared to the other one, so it doesn't line up quite right. Looks like it's just not mounted on that peg actually properly. As you can see there's a bit of a gap. Let me see if I can. Sometimes you can like push them in, but this one you can't. So yeah, that nacelle closest to you is a little bit off. It does go down, but it looks like it could be easily fixed for sure. I really have to move that because this is all plastic. Secondary hull and nacelles. This bottom is plastic, the top is metal. So because this is metal, this is quite top heavy. So if I move it around too much, it's going to fall off. So that's kind of shitty. I do have to fix that. But anyway, let's look at the details on this thing and see how she stacks up. So first off, looking at the top of the saucer, the registry looks good. It's way more TOS than I remember in the movie. I remember the one in the movie not quite being the right font, but I could be wrong in that regard. So that looks alright. It looks very TOS-ish. Does have the phaser ball turrets. They are gray. There is some Aztecing on the secondary, or on the saucer section. The saucer section reminds me very much of the refit Enterprise. Lots of elements from the refit Enterprise on there. Even the bridge module, the way it's designed, looks very refit style. But you can see the Aztecing in there, which also says that as well. Now it's got a nice long spine there leading down to an impulse crystal, which doesn't have a lot of detail but is actually pretty nice, to be fair. The edge of the saucer doesn't really ring true to what we see in the movie. It's one of the movies more of a rounded. This one's more like designed more like the refit, so I don't know how much of an issue that would be for people. I'm going to take this off for a second while we look at it. The impulse engines at the back there. I like the smaller impulse engines that the 2009 one started out with. Then when it got damaged and redone and they got longer, it just looks stupid. So I got to give them credit for the smaller impulse engines on this. That was good. There aren't many windows along the edge of the saucer. I mean, it looks like there are some, well, there are some that are all white, but you can't see them against the color of the hull. And then there are some black ones at the back. So the black ones stand out nice, but the white ones just get hidden. The reaction control thrusters, the RCS thrusters on the bottom of the saucer are colored yellow, as they should be. The ones on top are not, though, which was an odd choice. I don't know what the issue with that is. Going to the bottom of the secondary hull, it's really lacking some detail. Like I said, those registry numbers on the bottom would have been a huge improvement. Just to add some detail there, but they are gone. But you do have the Aztecing pattern still transferred over there. The bottom of the planetary sensor dome looks very refit style, as I've said. There's a lot of refit style elements to this design, which is just, it's too early in the timeline for that to really be a thing, but as the saucer's getting harder to stay on, I'll need to glue it. The neck has some indented windows and an airlock, which looks cool. It actually, because of the shadowing and stuff with the way they're indented in certain light, looks like, you know, they're painted or colored. So that's neat. The front part, the photon torpedo launcher, lacking a lot of detail, but still looks pretty impressive. The secondary hull also has some really huge blocky Aztec patterns, which don't look too bad, to be fair. And then once you go back to the struts, on the outside of the struts, it's more of a smaller block pattern, kind of like a digitized camouflage almost. So that's very interesting. There's also a gray stripe on there as well. Now the front, the deflector, it's a nice clear blue deflector, but it's all clear blue. There's no painted parts. It would have been cool to have it painted like it was in the movie, with just a little bit of the blue slits in it. But that actually kind of glows really nice in some light, so that's really not too much of an issue, to be fair. We've got the Starfleet pennant on the side, which is nice and straight. The delta's a little dark, but that's okay. Underneath there are some inset windows which are supposed to be painted, and the paint is of course misaligned. It's really bad on the one side, unless there's supposed to be two separate rows of windows, which I highly doubt. The port side is a lot better than the starboard side as far as alignment with those go. So, bottom of the secondary hull, some interesting inset details, and interestingly enough, it's got all the correct markings for the Constitution class TOS, which I didn't know this ship had necessarily. So that's kind of a neat touch. The shuttle bay is really lacking detail, and you can see the seam line on it, which you see a lot of the seam lines in the Eaglemoss ships, so take that for what it is. It's just the center of the door, let's say that. You got the little NCC 1701 back there, which seems to be kind of pushed over to the right side a little bit too far. It's a little bit of an alignment issue there. So the inside of the struts have absolutely no detail at all. There's no paneling, there's no Aztecing, there's no detail. It's just plain white plastic. So that's kind of a shame. Moving up to the nacelle, again you got that blocky Aztec pattern on there as well. The 1701 registry number looks very cool on the side of those, on the inside and outside of the nacelle. There's some gray striping along the bottom of each nacelle there. The rear detail on the nacelle is really nice. Wow. Yeah, the rear detail is kind of cool. But if you look how bad this engine right here, this is the one that goes down. It goes down and out, and it's tilted in as well. Ha! It's okay. So the massive alignment issues with that nacelle. Massive alignment issues with that nacelle, because it does do this, and it does this, and it also canters in as well. So that one needs to come off the strut completely and be reattached, which I just might do at some point. Might do it while I'm editing this together downstairs, actually, just to fix it, because it's a kind of a neat little model, to be fair. The top of the nacelles, you got some detailing there as well. You got kind of like a more gray striping, but also a gray running light, and one in the middle of the nacelle as well. At the back there is a raised bump for a running light, but it's not colored any specific color. And then you got the Bizarre collectors, which have some detailing inside, some like raised parts on the inside, which when the light hits them in a certain way does look like the fan blades are in there, and they do kind of glow a little bit when the light hits it a certain way. So anyway, that's it, guys. There you have it, the JJ 2009 Enterprise. And actually, it's not a bad little model. It's one of those things that when you hold it, you appreciate it a bit more. But from certain angles, I just can't get by how misproportioned this is. I don't mean to be railing on the JJPrise either. I've learned to like a lot of things about it over the years. But a few little tweaks and changes would make it so much better. But anyway, guys, let's take it over, put it on the stand, see how it looks, and hopefully it doesn't fall apart again. So, saucer separate, emergency. Let's go do our thing over there at the table. In postscript, this part should come after the stand, but I've since corrected the engine problem, the engine imbalance. Still leans inward a little bit. Just took a little bit of finesse, kind of tweaking this a little bit, and I've since fixed the saucer. So it looks much better now. But this is, I'm going to put this in before the stand part, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So anyway, there it is fixed and looking pretty good. So let's move on to the stand. Alright guys, so here she is on the stand, and let's see how the stand attaches there. There you can see the right nacelle, how it angles down and inward a little bit too much, and then you can see how they're spread apart at the back. Change the perspective a little bit, you don't notice it though. There you can really see it. Look at how off that engine is. I gotta fix that. I can't deal with that. Nacelles being out of alignment or not straight really bug me. So I have to fix that. But there you have it, guys. Now the stand is interesting because when I first put it on, I didn't actually just tried it like this, and that actually worked to make it kind of straight, which that actually works. I think that kind of stand placement for a lot of the Eaglemoss ships would be better because it would hide a lot less details on the secondary hulls. Plus it makes it nice and straight. That looks actually kind of really cool, actually. Wish they all did that, but yeah, this was a real disappointment for me just because out of the box it was just so broken. So marks off the Eaglemoss for that, for the saucer coming off, for this being so out of whack. Other than that, though, not too bad of a design model. I mean, they did the best they could, I guess. Now they do have other versions of the Kelvin Enterprise, the Into Darkness one and stuff as well, which I might get, but yeah, anyway. So on a low shelf, I mean, it looks alright. I think the saucers seems very like way too big, just because of the closeness of the nacelles, personally, but I mean, it displays fine that way. On a eye level shelf is actually pretty great. You get some great angles of it. You can do some dynamic stuff. So that's really great on an eye level shelf, much more so than a lower shelf in my opinion. And then on an upper shelf, it actually doesn't look so bad. Just kind of lacking some details on the bottom of that saucer. Kind of a big empty canvas. But, I mean, you can get some really nice angles of it. That's actually a nice angle of that ship. Looks good there, actually. So, ooh, that does too. So there are some great shots and angles of this ship for sure. Just, overall, you know my opinion on it, guys. I don't mean to nitpick, I don't mean to be a pain, but anyway. So there you have it, guys. If you guys click the link down below, you can head on over to the Eaglemoss store and add some stuff to your cart and use the discount code Trekyards when you check out. Now, it doesn't apply to this ship or any of the XL special edition ships or some of the shop exclusives, but it does apply to most of the standard ships. So you can save yourself quite a bit of money by using our discount code, and we'd really like to help you out with that. So other than that, if you're a fan of the Kelvin Enterprise, I would suggest getting this one. It's a good size, fairly good detail, and a good representation of the ship. Just hopefully you don't have issues with the nacelle or the saucer like I have so far. But those are probably one-off flukes, I hope. But I thought I'd point them out to you anyway. So yeah, I'd recommend this one, guys. But anyway, thank you for watching. As always, please subscribe to both channels, and don't forget to check out other videos or reviews by us. Always something we like to do is make lots of videos for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy them. So anyway, until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley, and thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.